Okay, this might be the strangest board game that I own, and that is saying a great deal. If you've been watching the other videos, you know I have some really weird board games, but this one is the strangest because of the theme. I found this not in a secondhand store, but in a underground basement game store just on the outskirts of Toronto, and it was covered in dust and nobody bought it. And I felt it and thought, it looks really heavy and strange. I must purchase it, so I did. And by far, it's probably one of the more overproduced games in my collection. So let's take a look at what's in the box. The game is Fairy Meat. It is a miniatures game. This is the box set. And there's actually a lot in this relatively tiny box, my hands for scale. So you can see that there's a bit of a little fight going on here between some of these angry looking fairies. And you can see that they're kind of cranky, and you don't know how cranky they are until you open the box, and they're really cranky indeed. So in this case, like I said, one of the more overproduced boxes of board game contents I've ever seen. They've actually got metal sculpts in here, and they're really, really something. So you can see right here, they're actually very, very, quite substantial, heavy. And you can see there's a fair amount of time and care that's gone into these. And these are the little warring fairy factions. There's a couple of other ones. And these are there's some interesting wings here. And you've got this very interesting one right here. Lots of metal pieces. You can see they're pretty substantial. I'm going to just show you one more. And they almost feel like they're not quite pewter. They're not that heavy, but they are metal. And I think that's quite an interesting standout of this game, that there are actual metal sculpts, and they're quite detailed. But let's turn now to what this game is all about. So you know right from the credits that it was conceived, bottle-fed, raised, educated, and butchered alive by Scott Layton. And it was produced in 2003. I know that's not as retro as we're used to on this channel, but it is quite retro. And the idea here was that these fairies, given the name Fairy Meat, are trying to eat each other. So you should just know that right up front. I'm going to read you a little bit from the game book. Fairy life was once such an innocent, dreamlike affair, with the day's events consisting of lovely tastes and songs and sharing giggles, playing games with squirrels, finger painting on dried leaves, and so on. There were no concerns for survival, and the most pressing issues were usually things like, do we have enough berry wine for the party? Or now that we've licked all the honey off, how many of us can fit in the sunny patch of moss and go for a noontime nap? But oh, those beautiful days ended a long time ago. Today their lives have direction, but their actions have a goal. That is to eat as many of their friends as possible. But before we get to that, let's look at the creatures themselves. And then you've got all kinds of details about the various fairies that live in this dystopian landscape who are trying to eat one another. So, like I said, this is an odd game. Inside, we have some really cool things. We have, and I've never opened this because I do not want to, because I'm one of those. I want to keep things as mint as possible. And this was in its shrink wrap. I did open it, so that's maybe breaking a rule here. And this is the components pack. This pack contains 4 sheets of fairy cards and die-cut counters to expand the Fairy Meat basics set, allowing 16 players in a single game. So this is a battle royale of fairies trying to eat each other. And this is an expansion pack right here. And also inside are these very glossy, very, very well-produced booklets. And inside, you learn about how to play the game. So this is that miniatures game. And you can talk about fairies, and there's a lot of replication of some of the stuff in the rulebook, but it's all in this gorgeous full color. And you can see it's lots of love went into this production. You can see a lot of artistry, a lot of really full color, lovely drawings. Talking about gameplay, it's quite a detailed game. And then you've got some of these fairy life and meat cards. We've got some punch cards here. There are kill counters. You can see right here, quite nicely produced. And you've got some of these elements as well. And this is, again, a really, really lovely full color production, very plushy, lovely book here. You can see it's quite substantial. And there are all sorts of books in here to describe various scenarios in this miniatures game. I'll show you one more. This one is particularly grisly right here with this clearly Rambo, Terminator, terribly violent gnome on fairy action. So yes, I have this, and my family was a little disturbed and alarmed when I brought this one home, but I do really love it in that it is so over the top, so unbelievably unhinged, and there's 3 booklets in here, so this was a full package. I got it for, I think, $20 at the time, and I'm very, very pleased to have it because it is such an idiosyncratic and slightly dark but fascinating little slice of early 2000 gaming with these beautiful, full, very nicely sculpted player pieces. Holy cow, what a production this is. What a theme of fairies trying to eat one another. Not for kids. Do not allow kids to play this. But it is a really, really interesting production. And again, thoroughly, thoroughly pleased to have it in my collection of extremely strange games. And I think this one might take the cake in terms of being the oddest thing I've got in my collection. And that is Fairy Meat, everyone. And it's got a place on, spot on Board Game Geek. So it is a real game that people have weighed in on. There's not a lot of dialogue about it online, but I wonder if anyone else has a copy of this. If you do, please reach out. I'd love to chat with you about it. And this has been my review a day that I'm doing for this channel, just to kind of look at what's in my catalog of very strange board games. And this was Fairy Meat, everyone, from 2003. Thanks for watching.